Hi, this is Dodger, and you're watching my show. That was a goof. Did I get you? This is 5-Minute Gaming News, the show that may or may not be 5 minutes. Some of you are going to be looking at your screens right now going, that's not Jesse. And you're correct. I'm Dodger. I'm a longtime friend of Jesse and a goof 'em up partner, if you will. And I'm going to be delivering the news to you all week, you lucky ducks. So let's get going. Today in the news, for any of you guys who remember the Gollum game, the one that has the record for 2023's worst reviewed game on Metacritic. Yikes. According to a German documentary that was covering the game's development, the apology that was issued after its rough initial release was flawed in multiple ways. As reported by The Gamer, for starters, developers at Daedalic Entertainment claim that the apology didn't even come from them and was instead issued by publisher Nacon through its account without prior warning. Better yet, 2 anonymous sources say that Nacon didn't even pen the apology itself and instead generated one through the AI tool Chat GPT. I can see where the Chat GPT rumor comes from. It's like a really generic apology. The name of the game is misspelled, Lord of the Ring, singular. It could easily be a typo. It's just weird. It's just a weird situation. And that's one of many of Gollum's issues that were reported in this documentary that came out. It was also claimed in the video that due to running out of time before the 2023 release, several characters and cutscenes that were meant to be animated were simply hidden from the player. For example, one scene that was supposed to see Gollum eavesdrop on a conversation between 2 major characters was recorded, but never animated. So Daedalic had Gollum simply look out a window and have the audio recording play, never having to show the characters that were speaking. Moreover, it's also claimed that the argument system, which saw Gollum and Smeagol argue over which option to take in the game, was never finished, and a makeshift solution was added shortly before publication. So it sounds like these Chat GPT potential issues, alleged issues, are just kind of an icing on an already weird cake. It's just been a rough development time for Daedalic. They even announced that going forward, they're not going to do development anymore. They're just going to stick to publishing, which might be a good call. And again, this is all, it's alleged, right? The Chat GPT thing. We haven't actually heard from Nacon, from Daedalic. They haven't commented on this. So until they do, we don't know if this is true or not. But regardless, I imagine that the Gollum game will be revered as not so precious. Is that the voice? That wasn't right. Whatever, we're moving on. In other news, another game that had a really rough release. This is going to be more positive, I promise. This isn't just going to be like a bummer episode. Arcane's Redfall came out in 2023. The current year, but it's finally had its 60 FPS update as well as a bunch of other changes. The most recent patch, titled Update 2, features a variety of improvements, including performance and stability concerns, bugs, accessibility, quality of life shortfalls, and even adds new combat encounters and player actions. Definitely, I think, aside from the 60 FPS, which people were wanting, the biggest change that people are most interested in is the combat. The patch adds stealth takedowns with staked weapons once you've got a vampire slaying stake strapped to like a bayonet, which is a nice addition, if a strange one to have been missing in the first place. Increased open world enemy population and mission encounter balancing, and added unique open world enemy encounters in Redfall Commons are particularly promising line items. So these are good changes, right? Definitely stuff that Redfall was needing. You could check out all of Update 2. It's huge. There's a ton to read. You can find it all yourself on Bethesda's website. And for the most part, I think people are just very happy to see Arcane really sticking with this game and trying to make it work. You know, some people are like, this is it. This is its cyberpunk redemption, you know, but not everybody feels that way. Redfall is just not a very good game. Yikes. Shared. Sorry. Redfall is just not a very good game, shared Forbes' Paul Tassi. I'm not saying that to be malicious, but it's not. I do not think there's a way to redeem it. This update fixes some technical things and alters gameplay feel a bit, but the core of the game is the same, and it's bad. I respect Arcane for continuing to work on it and deliver promised updates, but at this point, I would forgive them if they just issued DLC refunds and walked away. Speaking of the DLC, it is still up and for sale, so presumably it is still coming out. The DLC promises two future heroes with, unique powers and gameplay, but I might be on the Paul side of things. I know, don't hate me! I don't know, even after all of the updates in the world, I'm not convinced that Redfall can have its Cyberpunk redemption or its No Man's Sky, And regardless, I do hope that Redfall gets to have its big moment and gets to improve and see a lot of positive feedback. That would be great. But I think if anything, this has been a really good lesson for Arcane. It's really good to see that they are fully committed to the games that they put out, even if they're not, given a lot of good feedback. They're committed to trying and trying and trying. And I think that reflects really well on them. But I hope that with their next game, it's a bit smoother. Speaking of upcoming releases, it's Monday, which means we get to talk about some games that are coming out this week. Kicking things off, we have Forza Motorsport releasing for the Xbox and PC on Tuesday. The game is a soft reboot of the series after the 2017 release of Forza Motorsport 7 and features a 500-car roster with plenty of upgrades to boot. On top of that, the game is also just incredibly stunning with a 4K visual mode packed with next-gen ray tracing and impressive accessibility options, which I think we can all agree makes any game that much better. Then on October 12th, it's time to get your seafaring adventure on with Salt Sea Chronicles. In this beautiful story-driven game, players control a misfit crew as they heist their impounded ship and mount a rescue. Not only must you choose where to explore across the archipelago, but also who from the crew you explore with. The simple yet colorful art style alone has got me interested, and I can't wait to see more of Salt Sea Chronicles later this week. Finally, on Friday, October the 13th, Lords of the Fallen 2023 releases. And I gotta say, perfect release date pick, Hexworks and CI Games. For those unfamiliar, Lords of the Fallen is both a sequel and a remake of 2014's Lords of the Fallen. Of course, the game promises the same punishing third-person Souls-like RPG action as its predecessor, in addition to multiplayer co-op and PvP mode. So, if you've been wanting to scratch that dark fantasy Souls-like itch, you might just want to put Lords of the Fallen on your to-play list, along with every other amazing game coming out this October. And that's it. That's been 5-Minute Gaming News. If you, like many people, saw me today and were like, oh my God, Dodger still does stuff, I do. I stream, actually. You can find me on twitch.tv/DexBonus. I also have a coffee company that you can find at dodgercoffeeco.com. And I would love to see you guys come hang out. But otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow for more gaming news. So long.